anybody know what Zoom was before 2020? I mean, I didn't. I mean, I know some. I think there was like a WebEx or something like that. Uh, and I am somebody who really wants to talk to people in person. And it's like I still struggle to like use Zoom. It's part of our lives for sure. But during that time, Kara and I decided that, like, you know what, we need to launch the whatever we were going to call it, which became the Indigenous Farm Hub, as we were getting food out to families. And so I ended up jumping on like probably 250 Zoom meetings or phone calls to talk with different tribal leaders, elders, community members, people in farming, people in education, students, to kind of distill out like what's happening already in the communities and what could maybe the soon to be named Indigenous Farm Hub could do to enhance those opportunities. And so as we went through that, we kind of focused in on building capacity for existing Indigenous food systems and food systems as a whole. And we started thinking about using a similar community guided approach that we worked with when we were at NACA Inspired Schools, opening up schools of excellence and relevance. We took those core values and those ways of working with communities to heart and included it in here. And so the three big things that we heard was we could play a role in revitalizing Indigenous language, culture, and customs through school-based, land-based learning at a space to really reconnect agricultural experiences and healing opportunities for youth. We also wanted to renew and encourage traditional agricultural practices while deepening current modern day kind of practices, especially ones that are really trying to support our process of dealing with climate change. And so this one is where we talk about respecting the tension between Indigenous traditional practices and newer technologies. And oftentimes newer technologies, if you grow up in a lower income community or a community that's further away from engaging with them, you don't really have those opportunities to enhance your farming business. And so we wanted to make sure that we were first connecting to traditional values, traditional agricultural practices, but also opening doors to efficiencies where appropriate to build stronger and more productive farming so that we can build farmer prosperity. And then we wanted to facilitate our part in creating healthy food systems. So we wanted to have a space bigger than 1/3 of an acre to grow enough food that we could grow food that could help us do our fair share in developing healthy food systems. The other thing, I won't read all those things, and you can probably tell I like to talk about this stuff a lot. And so I promise I won't be so long-winded as we go through this. But as we did our 5-year strategic plan for the Indigenous Farm Hub, we kind of came up with this framework. And I'll focus more on the graphic here. The biggest thing that we felt about farming and the Indigenous Farm Hub was this is a space where we're doing direct service, just like schools do, to young people and with community. And so we wanted to make sure that our commitment to community and the service of growing food and the service of supporting others to learn how to grow food or to unlock what they know already, but put it into practice. We wanted to make sure that was the biggest thing that we wanted to do. The other big things, land sovereignty. So we knew that we want to work in supporting getting more land back to Indigenous students, Indigenous farmers, and having a big enough piece of land to start to grow enough food to support healthy food systems. Food sovereignty. We wanted to make sure that we were, and this is all coming from our conversations with different people, we wanted to make sure we were really focusing in on that to make sure that all people that we work with have food all the time that is really connected to them. It doesn't mean that if that you're not eating carrots or leafy greens and things like that, but we wanted to make sure that we were growing food that was really inherently connected to, especially our New Mexican people. And then the last thing is like cultural sovereignty. So really thinking about how are we vitalizing the reconnection of language and culture to the land. Going back to the story that I mentioned before with our schools, we know that there's been disruption, but we also have to work to reconnect that and to support young people and adults into deliberately connecting back to the land. And we feel like the best way to do that is through agricultural experiences. Bringing people together to grow food and to enjoy that food is something that like really, it's hard to find somebody who disagrees with that. And it's a way that we can find connection to many people. And so those three things, land sovereignty, cultural sovereignty, food sovereignty, those are all the things that really drive the work that we do all the time at the Farm Hub. And when we think about this, and oftentimes in our world, you want to like and I sometimes fall into this, we want to separate all those things. So it's like, it's very tactical or it's linear. Like we got all these three things and this is what we are focusing on. But really what we think about where they intersect, where those circles intersect at the center, that's where we do our work. And so it's not like, okay, are we doing land sovereignty here? And then that means that we need to raise money or do something actionable and food sovereignty over here. We really think about how are we working holistically to do all three of those things through community commitment and service for the greater community that we work with. All right, so this is one of the pictures of our farm. So that's, if you came to the farm soon, it's going to look like that. That's probably in May or June because these are some potatoes right here. So that's probably like pretty late May, early June. And so as you can see, it's a beautiful piece of land. You all are like, we would love to have you out. You're welcome to come out anytime. Just give us a 30-minute head start so we can prepare and get ready and maybe clean our hands a little bit. But this is from the almost the road. And so you'll see like we have 12.5 acres of 6 acres of vegetable production. And then we have about 7 to 8 acres of perennial grasses and pasture that we have set up in the back that's mixed with alfalfa. We do, you can see the bosque there. We do get river water. We do have the pre-1907 water rights on our property. But I don't know if you all have been reading or knowing about the news, especially in Corrales. It's dry no matter what. But in Corrales, our siphon was severed a couple years ago in a construction project. And so the siphon that brings the water out of the river doesn't work anymore. And now we're finally, in the next year or two, they're gonna fix it. But for the time being, they've been pumping the water out of the river almost with like a tractor trailer size pump. But if you try to suck the water out with a pump, the water, then the river declines to a certain point. You can't really use the pump anymore. And so we're at that stage. So last week I got the notice that we're not going to get any more water this year unless it rains, unless we find water in some way. And so we got two waterings. We got 2 waterings in 3-week increments. And so everything looks beautiful right now. It's green, and we had some visitors today, and we were talking about how beautiful it is to use the old ways of the acequia, but we can't rely on it. And so it's sad, but we think that our perennial grasses and our alfalfa, when we get some rains, especially during the monsoon time period, maybe this week when they said it's calling for a little bit, that they'll persist. And they know what to do. They'll grow their roots down, as my dad would say. They'll grow roots and like get there. But eventually, over the summer, it's going to be pretty dry there for sure. So in the front, we use we have 2 shallow wells on our property. The water table is about 10 to 15 feet in Corrales, because since we're so close to the river. And so we use drip tape irrigation for all of our vegetables, including beautiful blue corn and popcorn that we grow. Of course, they would love a deep soaking, but we just can't. We can't rely on the acequia where we are right now. And so that's why everything is in rows. We do use, like you can see, we use some plastic mulch in the front too, as you can see. And so we use different approaches to try to, water is life for us. Water is the biggest thing that we use. So we try to figure out how do we use as little as possible to get the best gains. All right, so our focus areas. So big thing that we do is our CSA. So we have a 100-person CSA that we either provide free of charge to families, and we also have paying customers as well. We also work with different community organizations and schools to get foods out to different communities. The Nota Begay Foundation, NB3, which is in Santa Ana Pueblo, we work with them each year, and they provide like funding to us to provide different schools with CSAs for their families. And we work with other organizations like One Generation Fund, which also provides us some funding to support schools like NACA and others with produce. But we also are super thankful for recent strangers to us who saw what we do and they sign up and they just pick up their produce from us. And that's their connection to Indigenous education and Indigenous farming. And they love to come out to the farm and just pick up their food on Saturdays or Sundays, or meet us in a couple different areas that we deliver to for them to pick up as well. So that's one of our mainstays and one of our deepest connections to our customers. Again, we focus a lot on food access, and we do that through educating our youth and thinking about how are we developing a more just food system for all. And so we work with food pantries and places like the Rio Grande Food Project in Albuquerque. When we have a ton of food, we're able to get that food out to them, and that gets dispersed with their customers. And we just really, really appreciate that. But we also know that we want to support the different issues as well. So we do a little bit of advocacy work. We work with a couple of different advocacy groups. New Mexico Farm to Table is one that's out here in New Mexico. We work with them, and we helped with the recent, a couple of years ago, Senate Bill 4, I believe it was, to make free lunch for all students, regardless of income. And so we do a little bit of that kind of advocacy and justice work. Third, education. So we really do believe that's a huge part of what we do. And so we do that with young people. We have kindergarten through 12th grade students come out. I was telling Chantel earlier today that we had our NACA kindergartners out today. And so if you want to see the cutest thing, about 22 young kids coming out, and they were already out in the fall. NACA brings each group of students out in the fall and in the spring. And they were like, I was like, what was your favorite part last year? They were like, we liked the corn. And I'm like, tell me more, like what part of it? And I forgot that this was the group that came out to literally harvest our popcorn. So all these little kids were out here picking off popcorn and like husking it and then putting in some bins for us. And they just like loved that. And then today they planted onions and they helped us weed some peas. A few pea casualties happened too, but we talked through how that works. And even with the young students, it's great to see how they just open up, like getting your hands dirty. I mean, you can tell like my hands are always dirty and they don't come clean at this time of the year. And seeing young people do that and not worry about like, ooh, like, and even like the 16-year-old students who are like, have brand new fingernails, like that are just done, to see them dig in, there's something beautiful about that. We know that they're all not going to be farmers and be like, I want to do this for a living, but we do know they're taking the connection to the soil, to the land, making connections to self and to their families, and hopefully having some skill sets that they're taking away for future opportunities for sure. But we also do more intensive internships and apprenticeships with young people as well, that we pay them a fair salary to come with us over the course of each semester to learn about different aspects of our farm. And I'll share a little bit more about that in a second. One other thing we do a farmer in residence training center as well. So we have 3 to 6 farmers, both indigenous and non-indigenous, who apply to our program, and they work with us for 20 hours a week throughout the growing season. And they learn about, how our approach is to food sovereignty and prosperity building. They bring their knowledge. We do create a circle of learning. So all of us are learning how to just build a more prosperous space. And then the key is for them to leave us ready to develop a business plan. And I use that loosely for different communities. That means something different. But we really want them to kind of center around how are they developing their own passions and putting that into action for their own community. And being able to do that in a way that is going to support their own families is key. A few new things that we're doing this year and last year, we started selling to schools, to senior centers and early childhood centers. And so New Mexico, with that Senate Bill 4, which made free lunch for all, there's also funding for New Mexico Grown. And New Mexico Grown is a pretty special subsidized program to support senior centers, early childhood centers, and schools to purchase not from just Cisco or Shamrock or the other large food conglomerates, which they fill a need and we need them because we can't, quite frankly, meet the demand right now locally. But they provide funding to buy from people like us or other farmers. And so we love it. It's awesome. And we provide like foods to schools like NACA, but also to the Bureau of Indian Education schools. So Santa Fe Indian School here in Santa Fe, we provide food to them, as well as other smaller schools that are in tribal communities. So it's just a beautiful thing. And we have early childhood centers that we work with as well, such as Napper Head Start, which is in Albuquerque. And we, it's just a great opportunity. And then we, this is the first year I held out for a really long time. Farmers markets are like, can cut both ways as a farmer. You have so much work to do every day, 7 days a week, but to go to a farmer's market and not sure what you're going to sell, it's just like hard. And so I've done it a little bit in Maryland. So I was like kind of hesitant, but right now we have a couple team members and some great interns who are like, let's do this. And so we're now at the downtown farmers market in Albuquerque as well. And so it's been great, a great learning experience. It helps young people get out of their shell a little bit and support, people who are coming up who want to buy food from us. And we get a chance to tell our story a little bit too. So there's like some beautiful things that happen. All right. So some of the farm to school activities that we have here. Can somebody say on the left-hand side what's happening there? Planting potatoes. That's right. And so these are some students from, I think, Santo Domingo Pueblo school a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year. But we were planting potatoes, and you kind of see like we give pretty standard measurements to use. So they're using their feet, you can probably see, to say like that's about 8 to 10 inches. And so they're very meticulously going through that process and planting them in the furrow. And then over here we had some students from the Youth Conservation Corps that was out, and so these are some things that we do. Like the funny thing is that I learned from having like a land-based like place for young people to come. It's a field trip in a lot of ways. It's like fun. They want to come and enjoy it. They don't want to just like pick weeds all day long. They probably, as Chantel and I talked earlier, they're going to remember the weeding because that's like probably like, oh my, that's all we did. But we do so much more. It's like, let's talk about how, the potato, what community, where do potatoes come from? What's their original location? What's that? Yeah. What peoples kind of are known to? Peruvians, Incans. Yeah. It's like it's probably the most widely used indigenous food in the world, probably. And my Irish roots, like I have to pay homage to the potato, right? And they feed a lot of people. And there's such great opportunities when we did this with our students. And we do this each year. We kind of go through that process to go slow, to talk about the connections to indigenous communities, but also to the current times as well. And so our farm to school activities are kind of connected in different ways to our students' shared life experiences, but we also want to be really intentional around how we bring more curricular style kind of opportunities to learn as well. I have a short video here. You can't see it. I messed up. I clicked on it when I started it, and so it looks like I already clicked on it. But I think I'm going to try it out. But I'm going to just play a few minutes of it just so you can get a taste of what we do here. There's a New Mexico In Depth does a project called Indigenously Positive, and back in June of last year, they came to visit us to do a little story on us. And I wanted to just share a little bit of this because it speaks more than what I can. Let me see. Does that let me? I'm going to see how I can. Sorry. Okay, there we go.
Just like the Albuquerque, farmers are getting vegetables families. This is the Indigenous Farm Hub. On top of growing a whole lot of food, the folks at the hub work with schools to bring students out to connect with the land, and they support native and non-native farmers through paid fellowships.
Looking at it like a place that is open to our community, where children, like adults, elders, people, can come together to share knowledge, to work together, to grow food, and then that food is redistributed back into the community itself. In that case, like I would say like in like 10, 20, 30 years from now, however long you want to think about it, this is a thriving place that's really continuing to be in connection with the community, and generations of folks can know that it's here, and then that continues to thrive. To me, that's like what Indigenous food sovereignty means. It's not what it's not is like saying like, oh, we're just going to do this for ourselves. It's like we're doing this for everybody.
People wash our carrots, and now we're bagging them. When is bagging? See the end product, from the beginning, plowing, all that, planting, figuring out the difference in wash and bag, and go out to pick it up.
We always try to add more family what they could possibly be making. So this is the most social part to us.
Acres that come out, and then the farmer residents get to see like what is possible and what is possible for them to create their community as well. So actually understanding and feeling that relationship to our food source again, which was said before. And that's, I think, part and vital, especially for like the youth that have been disconnected from that. And I myself too, right? I'm coming back into it, like in the sense of the remembrance space of remembering what it is to have our connection to our food source again.
All right, I just want to give you a little bit of taste. I can share where this is on their website too. Okay.
It's on your website, that film.
It's on the Indigenously Positive website, but we can make sure we get that to you for sure. And then like and those folks that you saw there, they were some of our employees. Like you saw me and Max and one of our other employees there. We had farmer in residence there. We had our interns that were there. So it was like a great day where you saw like a bunch of people working around a common thread and goals that were necessary for that day. It was also after the last substantial rain that we had. It literally like we probably had 1.5 inches of rain the night before, and so it was like you couldn't see it, but it was like super muddy out there. but we're able to get a lot of good things done even in spite of that. And that's how farming is. So these are some of our learning strands that we do at the farm. And this is relevant to both our farmer in residence and our young people. And so we really try to touch on each of these different strands. So soil, crop, irrigation science, those are things that are kind of like the backdrop of everything that we do in terms of land-based learning. They're kind of like if this was like like a food pyramid, that would probably be at the bottom, right? We need that foundation. We learn about food safety and food storage. You saw in that video how we have an open air facility where we do our food washing. We're certified to prepare our own food and sell it directly to customers. You saw probably our three dunk wash station. So similar to what you see in a restaurant when they take your cup, they kind of like dunk it. They don't necessarily take it to the dishwasher all the time, right? They take it and dunk it 3 times. The same thing is true with like food safety. And we teach that a lot at our farm because that's the thing that's the biggest risk for us, especially leafy greens and other things that are more susceptible to foodborne illness. We want to make sure everyone is using those good practices. And so those are where a lot of our standard operating procedures are. And there's not really any circle of learning around it. It's more like, this is what we're going to do because we got to be like super careful. If you have an idea to make it a little bit better, that's great, but we all have to agree on it. So no matter who was there, if I'm out delivering or if I'm out on a different part of the farm, that you know exactly what to do. And we just use that process every time. And we kind of commit to that. Business planning and marketing, we didn't see too much of that there, but you heard from Kevin and Molly. They were farmer in residence with us. And so they were constantly thinking about, as we're doing the learning by doing experience at our farm, how are they integrating that into their future plans and how they want to create something that's going to be relevant to their home community. Everyone focuses in on community engagement and distribution. So we are direct service. So many of our customers that day came to pick up their produce bags from us. And so all of our young people who are working with us, our staff and our farmer in residence really are learning like the community engagement processes and supports our efforts in distributing. And then we want to use like culturally sustaining practices as well. And so we talk about different ways of how we're planting, why that's the way that we're doing it, what are the foods that we're growing that are culturally sustainable, and how are we ensuring that we're doing that intentionally with our young people. One of the things that let me see here. One of the things that we do, one of our colleagues, Clarence Hogue from Shiprock, he's planting corn with a little thing that his family used, and it's like what I would call a stamp planter. Like you stamp it in the ground and you take another step, and you have to get into the groove, kind of like two-stepping, and you get into that groove and you're planting that in the way that he's planting it. I never used that before in my life, but my father did. That's how he planted. They planted acres. I mean, if you hear him, it's like he planted thousands of acres, but it was probably like 10 acres of corn that way. But that still was a lot of walking and a lot of work. We also use like many of the Pueblos just use kind of like a stick to poke a hole. Somebody else drops a seed. If you have a couple of people working, the next person kind of covers it up with their foot. So that day we were doing that as well. It's just not in the picture. And then you have me. I have a little hand planter, and then we have a tractor planter as well that we use because we put out about 2 to 3 acres of corn each year. And so we use traditional ways, but we also want to use more modern ways sometimes too. But all the modern ways, just like my phone or just like this, if the team wasn't here today to show me how to plug this in, I'd be lost. I'd be talking to you without any pictures. And so we want to learn and teach how to do things when everything else fails. You still got to know the basics. And so, but if we can use new technologies, let's make it happen. On the other side, what is that other picture? Hydroponics, yeah. Yeah, so this is brand new for us. So we haven't done this before until last year. Last year was our first one. We used smaller, what they call deep culture pools deep water culture pools. And we did that to like teach young people how to start this. We used all locally sourced kind of things that we could find so that we could just learn how these things work and learn about how, more importantly, how they fail and how do we fix it and how do we make sure that they're not going to fail the next time. And so we had to go through a process last year to kind of learn how to do this. And then this year, this is one of our other greenhouses. There's about 1,500 plants on that. And that's called a nutrient film technique model. And so there's like little tiny hoses right here, you can see right here, that feed water in and then trickle down just slightly downhill back into this 150-gallon tank. And so it uses extremely little water and it provides nutrients right to the plant. I've never seen such beautiful like roots underneath of that. They just grow and they look like a car wash sponge at the end of right before you pick them. And so it's super efficient. We're able to half the amount of time to grow that lettuce as it does outside. And then, as you know, in the New Mexican climate that we're in, you can't really grow lettuce too much in July and August. And let's be real, like even in May in the valley, it's really, really hard. It's too hot. It'll just bolt. It'll go to seed and become really bitter. And then the bugs just love it. And so this is the way that we've started to invest a little bit in having lettuce year round and other leafy greens year round that are able to grow in good ways using less water. And it's like great, like the young people come and see this and it's like, I love this. I want to do this. And I'm like, but we got things to do outside. And they're like, no, we want to do this. And it adds that technology component that so many young people need in order to see how farming is not like how great grandpa did it. There's some other ways that you can do this as well. And then the back you see in the background, that is at least the largest swamp cooler I've ever seen. So in New Mexico, you have to add both moisture and some cooling so that your plants just don't like suffer and like literally like burn inside. And so we have a series of fans. There's 10 different fans in each of the greenhouses that we have. And then the cooling wall will really help keep things good. So real quick, in 2025, I just wanted to share a couple key things for us. Like we had 6 farmers and residents that were trained there. We'll likely have 3 this year. It ebbs and flows sometimes with funding and with different priorities that we have. We had 12 youth interns, but this year we'll probably double that. And so we have less farmer and residents, but more interns because we really wanted to center our youth and provide opportunities for them to really engage deeply. And at one point soon in the future, we want to have a full course of study where we can work with Santa Fe Community College or other community colleges to develop a course of study for 60 credit AA degree that young people can come to us starting in high school and then finishing up after they graduate. That could be centered around like farming or business to provide them access points as well. We had 1,000 students come through last year through our farm to school learning experiences. We provided 2,500 plus CSA bags to our customers and community members. We have 13 partners that we hold really dear, either people who pay us for some of our produce or ones that we do facilitated trainings with, like the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, the IPCC. They're a huge collaborator with us, and we're just like super thankful for them. And then we expanded, like I mentioned earlier, into hydroponics and farming year round, which sometimes in December it feels like, man, I really want that break. I used to get that break in December, but now we have food that we need to get out to families, which is a good problem to have. And then we also have value-added products. We have 6 different product lines. Everything, like we take our blue corn and white corn and we make flour or cornmeal with it. We also make masa. We make fresh masa. We have these industrial grinders that we're able to take the nixtamal or the treated corn and actually grind it into these beautiful snowflakes, and we're able to sell that to customers as well. We have a great popcorn that we've grown there the last couple of years as well. And so just a few of our products that we have. And we've expanded. That was like last year. We've probably, up to this year right now, we've probably sold $12,000. And so we just expanded, and it provides us an opportunity to, in the winter months, to continue to have learning experiences, but also to generate some income. We had 24 hours of formal training with the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, with different participants from our communities that come to us. 55,000 pounds of produce was grown on our farm and distributed last year. And then we have, with our greenhouses, we had like over 5,000 pounds of lettuce and greens that we took out of that, which is a lot. That's a lot of lettuce. That's like churning and burning all the time. If you imagine, like a good head of lettuce is probably half a pound. So it was like a beautiful thing, and it's really helped us a lot.
How much has that grown over the years in regard to how much you're growing now versus?
Yeah. When we started out, we had a third of an acre. The land that we are putting into land conservation, we started farming that in 2021, and we farmed about 2 acres of that into vegetables. And now we have about 8 acres that we're farming now for vegetables specifically. So we've definitely come a long way. This year we didn't expand anymore, just because we have this property, and we have 2 elders that we work with in Corrales too, where they are like, can you just come and like farm my backyard, because we don't do anything with it. And my one is like, her husband passed a couple years ago, and she's like, I just really want somebody to use this space. And so we do her 6/10 of an acre, and another person has about an acre that we plant each year as well, just to keep it in agriculture. This is a picture of our delivering produce to our CSA customers, which is one of them is NAPR, which is Native American Professional Parent Resources Incorporated. And they're an organization that does tribal home visiting. And so they do wraparound services for especially younger Native families and parents. And so they already do visits to families across all the different pueblos, especially ones that are close to Albuquerque. And so we partnered with them because they're already going. And so why not have a delivery system in place where we can provide food, and that gets to a home that could really enjoy some really awesome food. And so we do partnerships like that, where we want to build upon the strengths of what other community organizations are doing, and then play a role in supporting their efforts. All right, and so this is about as fancy as I get. That's our scanned. If you wanted to scan that with your phone, that'll take you to our website. And the website is pretty simple. It's indigenousfarmhub.org. And there's this information in there about the work that we do, our CSA, and all that kind of stuff there. And so thank you so much for the time tonight. Hopefully I didn't go over too much time here. I'm like 1 minute until 7.
Doing great.
But I'm super thankful for the time and the space with you all. We're really grateful for the opportunity to conserve our land and to make sure that it's going to be used in good ways for the future.
You have time for a few questions, so feel free, anyone in the audience.
So we have 3 full-time staff right now, including me. Not many, and so we this is the time where it's getting a little bit busier. We have 2 farmer in residence starting with us on Monday, which is great. And then we have one of our staff members. Her name's Alice Sudel. She wasn't in the video because she just started around the same time that the video was shot last year. She works at NACA and works with us, but is transitioning over to us full time. And she's our education director. And so part of her role is to support our efforts in getting interns set up and apprenticeships set up. And so we're really kind of focusing in on getting our youth to come out to engage in the work that we do, pay them a salary to be with us, and hopefully plant a seed on this as like something fun and like something that you see you could do for the long term. So there is a ton of work that needs to happen all the time, and but it's definitely doable. We would always love to have more staff for sure. We did recently get, I'm super proud to say, because I didn't think we were going to get it. I don't want to get into too political things, but our work is really around culturally responsive learning and culturally responsive work. And so any USDA fund, we have a big old problem most of the time, because there is like, are we DEI focused? Not necessarily. We're focusing on like the human experience and like doing right by our people in our communities. So we haven't had, like, over the last year or so, much luck in getting funding, which we love to have like a good balance of like hard-earned money, the things that we sell, foundations that love us and like provide us funding that we're grateful for, and state funding. But USDA funding, federal funding, is also super important for a lot of the work that we do. So I'm pleased to say we received like a USDA farm to school grant 2 weeks ago. We got notice, and so that's really going to help us with staffing, take the pressure off of raising money for staff, because that's the great thing about USDA funds. You can use that for staff support. Even if we were a non for-profit institution, there are programs that support with staffing through USDA. And so we're going to use that to build up our internships and our apprenticeships. And so we're really excited about what that means for us. Yeah, some of them we do some soil health programming through them. There's another conservation group, Ciudad Soil, and what's the other part? Soil and conservation. We work with them. They're not necessarily in NMDA directly. We have worked with NMDA around some internship opportunities. They have a funding for internships, so we'll probably explore that in future years as well. But we're friendly, and we get other resources from them as well.
So the healthy soil's good stuff.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
You hooked up with the folks at the community college, their aquaponics?
Yeah. They we actually had one of our staff members in the past came and did an internship up here to help us like learn straight up what the heck do we do with these hydroponic systems, and how do we set them up, and so they were great over there, like and so they've come to do a couple visits with us, and we've started the process of like thinking about how do we make this educationally focused too. So how do we create like a program of study that we could do at our farm for youth there, since Santa Fe Community College is really well known for their aquaponics, hydroponics systems. And so I would say 90% of what we do at the Farm Hub with regard to hydroponics is born out of our relationship with Santa Fe Community College. Yeah, great people over there too.
So what are your major funding sources yet? What part of the state funds you, and what are your, I mean, does the New Mexico Foundation, do you get funding from them?
Mm-hmm. Not so much. We haven't had funding from them in the past. We do a lot of we raise a lot of money through selling our produce or doing facilitated trainings especially for adults. A little bit for some schools. They give us like little honorariums. The ones that are not partners with us, typically, like there's a Montessori school that's like, hey, we want to come out and we want to treat you like we were going to explore a museum, and so they provide us an honorarium and things of that nature. So that's like one part. And then the other part, like places, organizations like McCune Foundation locally has supported us. United Way of North Central New Mexico. Since they merged together, we have a 3-year grant through them that supports us with work. And so we're super thankful to their team. And they've done like visits to our farm to do what they call their days of service. And they've just been really, really good. No to Begay Foundation is a huge partner of ours, and we've received funding from them directly for grant specifics, but also they purchase produce from us to get out to families. We're hoping for First Nations Development Institute. That's a local community organization as well that provides some funding. We've gotten some smaller grants from them in the past, but we're hoping that we get some funding from them. And then Con Alma, I don't know if you all are familiar with that, Con Alma Health Foundation. I believe it's connected to like Blue Cross Blue Shield, but it's their focus here in New Mexico to get funding out to organizations that are doing work within health. And so they've been like a mainstay partner of ours as well. And then for New Mexico, there's a program called the Economic Development Department has a couple different programs. We have an outdoor equity grant that we receive from the Economic Development Department. And then even more so, the Healthy Foods Financing Fund, which focuses specifically in building healthy food systems across New Mexico. We received funding over the last several years from them for different specific projects, especially around capital, building, like buying equipment, for instance, which is expensive and hard sometimes to find grants for that. Ones that help expand business models is something that we received from them. And then they provided us like $100,000 grant very recently, where we're going to be able to build our first like actual building, not a greenhouse, not a shipping container that we use for storage, but an actual 50 by 50 like metal building or barn that we're going to be able to use as a production wash station. And then also have it opened up to other farmers across Sandoval County and the greater Albuquerque area. If they're local or close to us, they can come and wash their produce, which is always like a really difficult thing, to believe it or not, as a vegetable farmer. And the other big thing is like cold storage, like finding places to put all your produce. A refrigerator like we have in here, you fill that up in 3 minutes. You know, if you have just like a quarter of an acre, in 3 minutes, you're done, unless you're able to get that out. And a lot of times, smaller farmers, they need to just like pick it, wash it, get it out like within a matter of hours, because they don't have like access to cold storage. And so the other big thing that we want to do is develop like a larger walk-in refrigerator system at our farm, so that other farmers can utilize that. We've created the white enclosed trailers. I like sometimes you see them like they have motorcycles in the back or whatever. I call them toy trailers, but we have several of those, and we've kind of manufactured our own walk-in cold storage using a thing called a CoolBot. You can hack a air conditioner that you would put into like a window unit, and insulate it with 4 inches of hard insulation, and you can make that literally like a cold storage. And we made the first one 5 years ago. It still works with the same air conditioner. It gets things down to a nice 33, 34 degrees when you need it to, even in the hottest of days. And instead of buying like a $30,000 trailer, it costs us like $6,000 to make it. And so we know that's like a huge need. And so we want to use this funding from New Mexico to have space where other farmers could come and use that space and build prosperity as well. Yeah.
We have one question from the online audience. They're curious if you've considered growing native plants to produce seeds that can be used in wildlife habitat restoration work.
Yeah, that's a great question. We are open to that. We haven't necessarily spent a lot of time putting energy behind that quite yet, because we were focused more on like food for human consumption. But that is something in the next 5 years or so we really want to start to do. The hardest thing for us, because we always get this other question, like, do you use cover crops during the off season? And we try, but we don't get enough water in Corrales from rain to actually get things started. And then to have an actual cover crop that we could do over and could winter over, like on a really good year, we get our last water like after like about 3 months of no water. We usually get one surprise one in like September, October, and that's like enough to get in. And then we get some perennial grasses growing, and we have this beautiful perennial grass and alfalfa field that we started last year. but it's like really hard to make that happen. So we are open to, and me included, to open to see how can we do that and create and growing native seeds that we could harvest and provide as opportunities. We'd love to learn about how we can do that, and that's something that we want to do in the next 5 years.
I have one sort of weird question, but do you have sandhill cranes on your land in the winter?
100%. Like it's so funny that you bring that up. It's like 5 years ago, the village of Corrales reached out to us because they heard what we were doing. We were still just farming on Kara. You saw her on the video. She's my colleague and the co-founder. We were like farming on her third of an acre, which is a little bit bigger than this building. And they learned about it. People were going by and they were like, wow, that is like beautiful blue corn that you have. It was like 9-10 foot tall. It was like beautiful. I had to get on my tippy toes to pull off the ears, right? And people were like a little bit nosy rosy around, like, what's going on here? What are you guys doing? We're like, well, we're this like starting like a little farm that we want to support, our school with like fresh produce. And they're like, what you ought to do? We have this land conservation easement program, and we want to save this farm that is called Tricello Fields, which is the farm, which is this farm here. Sorry, this farm here, that's Tricello Fields in Corrales. And we're like, okay, let's look at it. And they were like, yeah, we want to do that. Like we'd love to, but we really can't. So we found this like person that was nearby who wanted to like fund it for us because he loves seeing the sandhill cranes, because there were like hundreds of them in that field. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And they kind of look like ostriches a little bit. They're big. I mean, they're like they're not like eye level, but they're like big. And it was like a little startling to see those suckers out there the first time. And so thankfully they come in like well after we're kind of closing the door on the outdoor season. But even where that picture is, they would actually pick through. We had squash in that field last year, and they would come in. They would like late October. They would just go through and just like clean shop for us and take anything and everything out. And they're there for several months. And so the person, like the first time we went through the conservation, it didn't quite work out the way we wanted it to, but we're thankful that it did this time around, and it was probably better in the way that it transpired. But a person still comes over and is like, I'm just here to see the sandhill crane. It's going to come in and see it, and a bunch of people just come in to take pictures and stuff like that. And so it's beautiful. Yeah. Well, we have. It's funny you say that. Like since we've been doing the conservation process, because we started this a year ago, right? It's been about a year since we started it. And the village of Corrales, as soon as they approved us as a site, everyone on the land board has reached out to be like, hey, can we come and do this? It's our harvest festival. We're like, absolutely. And so we're doing like it's a bird watching thing, right? That we're doing on May 19th, right, Chantel? Yeah. Oh, I should say May 9th. I'm going to be there either way. But yeah, so we're doing we're hosting a bird watching thing. And so it's no sandhill cranes there right now, but like there's plenty of other ones to see. So yeah, so it's a place where I feel like a lot of people feel like a gravity pull too, especially local Corrales folks, like see this as a space because you see it from the road every single day when you go by. And it's like one of the last big pieces of land that's not been developed. And so it's like a beautiful spot. And it's great to see that the hometown family like really sees this as something
You need to get a picture for your presentation of the cranes.
Yeah. Yep. I should do that.
Great. How about another hand for Alan?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so like Ellen mentioned, if you are curious to hear more about what Indigenous Farm Hub is up to down in Corrales and also like watching birds, we have a bird watching event on May 9th. That's actually World Migratory Bird Day. And it also coincides with the Viva Corrales Festival. It's kind of a celebration of Corrales's farmland and agricultural heritage. So Chantal is kind of organizing that, and they'll be meeting actually at Indigenous Farm Hub this year, right? We've done, I think now 10 projects in Corrales, and this walk will kind of go to a few of those where you can, see all the migratory bird habitat at a time when they're quite active. So, looking forward to having folks come out to that. And then, like I mentioned, this is the first of our 3 event speaker series for the spring. And our second one is actually another birding event here at the Pachesky Center on May 20th with a local wildlife biologist named Nilu Velarde. So she'll take people around the property here and show them some of the bird species we have here in our backyard in Santa Fe. And then on June 3rd, we have a talk with a woman named Caitlin from the Xerxes Society about pollinators and their impacts on local ecology, to kind of sustain both, our vegetative systems and agricultural communities and wildlife. So hope you can make one of those events. And again, really, really thank you, Alan, for coming up from Corrales tonight and talking to us, and looking forward to collaborating with you more on this project and others.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.